I came back from Puerto Rico, and I have prepared a small debrief on what I captured in this U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Industry Day for the Caribbean District in Puerto Rico. At the end of the video, I'm also going to give you a link so you can download the guide where you can see all the work that is coming up in Puerto Rico. This guide was provided to us, and it's available online as well, so you can find it. But here are all the projects that are available in Puerto Rico, and the contact information for the key people that you want to potentially ask for a meeting, or the small business person that you need to connect at any district in order to request a capability briefing. Without that, that's the process. For us small businesses, you want to connect with the person responsible or that is in charge in making sure small businesses are having opportunities, and they're also very passionate about what we do in connecting smaller companies to larger companies. It is true that here, all the districts that have anything to do with Caribbean district, but also they are, and I'll read them here, you have all the contacts. You have the Caribbean district, Charleston district, Jacksonville district, Mobile district, Savannah district, and Wilmington district. Sorry, you gotta have some water. I've been talking a lot, so much. So I'm gonna give this to you so you can take your time and study it. No need for me to just verbalize this. And I'm gonna share some of my notes, but then it would be up to you to do the proper research so you can prepare and position yourself. You want to position yourself by studying these clients, their mission, their vision, their values, and that is also available in that guide. And really understand what they want. The most important, there's two things that you really want to know. What do you want, and what do they want? And if you figure out that what you want has anything to do with what they want, and you can be a solution for them, then work really hard at mastering your craft so you can provide that level of the solution at the level that they want, right? Because you want to serve them at the highest level. I don't know, I'm sorry, I don't know what it is today. I actually have my tag, so you can see what it looks like if you haven't been in one of these. Well, I'll read my notes, so bear with me. My outcome here is to share what I think is valuable that you might not even be able to, or it's going to take you a long time to find out if you weren't able to go to this event. So, a big change in the administration, this current administration, big change. I've been doing work for the federal government for probably, let's say, 17 years, 15, 17 years. And they have a big push to use the GSA schedule. The GSA schedule, it's for construction. They're using it. They're using it for other services as they have done in the past, but in construction, it wasn't that utilized. Why? Because many contracting officers, they didn't know how, but this administration is pushing it. So it looks like if we're not in the schedule, in the future, it's going to have an impact. So I'm definitely going to do the work. Now, I had done this at the beginning of my career in the federal government. I registered in the schedule. I did all the work that had to be done. GSA schedule, created it. It's not an easy process, I have to say. And you gotta really find out who are you gonna take advice from. And there's a lot of companies that advertise this service, but at the beginning of my journey with the federal government, I have to warn you, I found a company they found me. They were in a booth in one of these conferences, and they didn't do any work, took our money, and you could never find them again. So be very, very careful to using. I'm actually going to find the name so that it doesn't happen to you. That's something that could be beneficial. How does the schedule works? It's like a job contract. You define for construction. It would be defining the pricing for staff, for project manager, superintendent, and certain things. I want to say overhead. And then the task orders is going to be awarded through task orders when the scope is defined. I'm going to learn more about it as well myself, but that's basically what a big change that you want to step on. Make sure that you are on top of it. The other one that is it's a big change is the fire regulations. They are revamping the fire regulations. And I believe they're now revamping on number one, revolutionizing the fire regulations. It's like a overhaul. There is stage one, but it's going to have another, they're going to take another look at it. So it's going to be like a phase two. You want to become very, very familiar with the fire. This advice came to us via the SBA representatives in the conference. I'm going to give you their names. In this brochure that you will be able to download, at the end, their names and contacts are there, so you can make use of it. A very good emphasis, a strong emphasis was made for us, for companies to really understand, invest time and attention in learning the FAR, learning how to do work with the federal government. Is not the same as other agencies. I'm not saying more difficult or less difficult. In my opinion, it's less difficult because there's more clarity. They do a good job at letting you know what they want. And then we have to do a good job to making sure that we can fulfill or not. We don't have to do the work or go after this work. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you can serve them at the highest level. So there's a huge emphasis for people to learn how to work with the federal government. It seems like there's a gap. So in Puerto Rico, they were expressed, there's a need to bridge the gap between where contractors are in Puerto Rico, in the island, and possibly the US, how it's done. There's been challenges in the performance or in the communication, in the culture. So that's an effort that we want to collaborate with. They also described the need to build communities, to really become empathetic for what Puerto Rico has gone through with all these hurricanes and how the community has been affected. So when you go to Puerto Rico, think about the impact that you're creating with the community, and that to marry their purpose, their mission. We want to make sure that these buildings, these structures, this infrastructure that we create last for a long time, and that it can serve them. The other word that I'm going to give you that was huge was resilience. That is the big theme of all this, resilience. How do we build resilient structures? How do we build structures, whether it's infrastructure, buildings, that can sustain the impacts of hurricanes that Puerto Rico goes through? It's about marrying their mission, resilience in construction. It's the theme. You want to think about maintenance. You want to think about when they are in a hurricane, what happens? How fast can they go back to work? How fast can they reestablish life as normal? How fast can this happen? All of that is resilient. In addition, resilience is also important for the people that work in these facilities, for the people that provide services, for the companies that provide assistance when there is an impact of the kind of a hurricane. How do we disaster recovery? All of that is part of resilience. How can you serve in that capacity? And if you cannot, there is a lot of work, and it's going to take time to rebuild that community. But how do you position your company to serve in some capacity? Maybe you don't have the experience. Maybe you don't have the experience that you potentially would want to have, but you could also team up and JV with a company a larger company, that probably is the one that is going to get those contracts because they have the expertise and the past performance, and they can showcase experience and prove to the government that they are going to mitigate risk. But you could also, as a strategy for not immediate, but position yourself to partner with them to gain experience. There's a call for engagement with the community, engagement with talent, engagement with young people, with STEM. How do we bring them to Puerto Rico, and how do we engage the colleges and universities, engineering, architecture, to work on these federal projects? How do we capture that talent? And how do we educate them and grow them? Puerto Rico has a lot of talent. We've worked with numerous people from Puerto Rico, and with a lot of success. How do you engage with the trade partners that are already in Puerto Rico? So where do you find them? So that's one thing that the SBA can do really good for you. That are reaching out to the SBA, because the SBA, the Association of General Contractors, and ABC, Association of Building Contractors. You can find these partners that you need to create your team for the project that you will pursue. I have here also that you want to really strengthen relationship to deliver the mission that they have. The mission is simple. It's really one team, one mission to protect the United States. So how do you become a partner? Not a vendor, just a vendor, but a partner. How do we collaborate? How do we strategize together? How do we become part of the solution? How do we become a problem solver? How do we plan more so we don't have disruption, drama? We have to solve less things that are on a surprise basis. What else do I have here? The chapter for SAMI in Puerto Rico, they need more participation. So they are inviting us to join the chapter, SAMI chapter, Society of American Military Engineers chapter, which is very valuable, because if this is a client that you believe it's a long-term client for you, the Society of American Military Engineers is a great place to network, a great place to learn, and a great place to understand where is the Department of Defense heading to. But not only the Department of Defense, it's also other agencies like the VA, because the Army Corps of Engineers, they get a lot of work from other agencies because of how good they are at performing and executing, managing projects. They have that reputation. There's so much about processes, and they have done it so much that many other agencies in the government trust the Army Corps of Engineers for execution, to manage these contracts, to hire us and deliver. So what else do I have here? JVs are a great way, in subcontracting and teaming is a great way, but you have to consult your attorney because there's a right way and a wrong way of doing it. And the conference also discussed work in the Virgin Islands. So it's not only Puerto Rico, but it's also the US Virgin Islands. Last, and I'll have more later on, you have Apex Accelerator. It's an entity that is created to make sure that it's easier for small businesses. Simpler, easier, that there's access, that there's training, that you can call them and they can give you information that can help you bridge the gap from where you are to where you want to be. Last, but not least, if you really, really are committed to work for the federal government, don't forget cybersecurity. There's a certification that you're going to have to become certified, CCMMC certified, which means it's going to guarantee the government that your system, your internet, your network is going to prevent them to be affected by cybersecurity. So it's a long, lengthy process, and you want to start now, because if you don't have that and you cannot prove you have it, you won't be able to secure a contract. So these are things that you can do earlier on, and you can start acting now. I hope this video serves you, and I hope that you download this guide here. It's in the link, but I also clicking that link below because it not only includes the guide, but it also includes a guide to present to the government, to request a capability briefing, to create your capability, and request a meeting, and making sure that you do this in a way that is successful for you, that you can capture their attention and keep the conversation going. So I hope this video serves you, and may you be blessed.